Need your daily fix on mixed martial arts?
We're going to kind of recap Bellator 155 from UFC 198.
Who's who?
Kind of a controversial decision.
And who's not.
I couldn't figure out why, and then it hit me.
Well, don't you fret, because Golden State Media Concepts got you covered. Get your daily dose of MMA podcasts. Everything from the UFC, Bellator Fighting Championship, Extreme Cage Fighting, Invicta Fighting Championship, and so much more. Join us as we talk about some of the biggest names in mixed martial arts. We've got you covered here on Golden State Media Concepts MMA Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC MMA Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Daniel Dilliard, and hopefully you are doing well for yourself. You, your friends, your family, whether you live in the States or internationally, I hope you're doing fine for yourself during a time of major uncertainty. When I say about uncertainty, things in America are very uncertain right now. People are losing their jobs. I think unemployment right now is currently at an all-time high right now. Yeah, it's currently at an all-time high. I know right here in the LA County, there are food donation areas where you can go to. So even though I'm Mormon, I participate in a Lutheran food giveaway church event. We do this about every Saturday, in that we donate money, we donate food, and we cook food. This upcoming weekend, I'll be cooking like lemon chicken, orange vinaigrette. I think it's vinaigrette. Oh yeah, okay. No, it's orange vodka sauce on pasta with lemon chicken. Oh yeah, that's what I'm cooking. So I'll be cooking that food for the homeless people coming up this weekend. It's going to be at the Van Nuys First Lutheran Church. But I'm talking about this, and it's because there was a story that went out there. Two stories. One of them involves female MMA fighters who are now looking towards OnlyFans as their main source of income. Because I can't name the specific fighter here, but there are multiple female fighters who were making decent amount of money before COVID. They're living by check though. And many fighters here make under six figures. Many of them do. And for some people, 6 figures is a lot of money. For some people, making like $6,000 a year is already a lot of money. But whenever it pertains to celebrities, I always have to compare celebrities relative to others in the profession. So, in that sense, I always compare sports athletes with other athletes. I compare actors with other actors. I compare sports entertainers to pro wrestlers. Because both pro wrestlers and MMA fighters are kind of sports entertainers. One of them is real, one of them is fake, but in the end, it's an entertainment show with a lot of physicality. Now then, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because those female fighters who end up doing OnlyFans, according to them, they make significantly a lot more money doing OnlyFans than when they were full-time MMA pro fighters here. And a lot of these fighters, you're looking back at their salaries, they made $25,000 to $35,000 per fight 2 times a year. And so they made about $70,000 a year, and that is not including, them paying for expenses, paying for their housing, paying off taxes, paying them for training, for the vitamins, for the food, for the coaches. So even though they potentially could have made $75,000 if they just saved it all, they spent, I say about 33% of it though, on other aspects. So they spent about 32% of it. So that leaves them with about, I say, $50,000. Yeah, they $75,000, then $50,000. $50,000 a year off yourself, not that well for yourself. Not really good. And I'm talking about this because there's another story out there that involves a female professional wrestler. Her name is Selena Vega. She's a Latina pro wrestler. And she works under the WWE, being led by Vince McMahon. And you always hear stories about Vince McMahon and Dana White in that they're very chummy together. Both of them are characters. I don't know, maybe Jerry Jones, but there are no two characters who are not athletes in the world of sports entertainment, which I also include basketball, NHL, NFL, PFL. Dana White and Vince McMahon are a brand of their own. I still remember when COVID just hit around late April, when Donald Trump was talking about assembling a team to help rebuild the economy and he brought up Dana White and Vince McMahon. And according to Dana White, after a meeting, he said that only him and Vince McMahon were the only ones who were seeing eye to eye as it pertains to handling the economy. And also, considering that both these two have very similar perspectives as it pertains to the economy, I recently just got a message. I got a message where me and two other people were talking about how Vince and Dana White, what they perceive to be good money, is very different from the perspective of what their employees think is good money, what a good salary is. And so Selena Vega, she recently got released. She got fired. She got fired from her job because she was doing OnlyFans. And not only was she doing OnlyFans, she was also doing Twitch. So she was making money as a pro wrestler, while also doing Twitch, while also doing a YouTube channel, while also doing OnlyFans. So she was making bank. She was making good money through multiple different revenue streams. Okay, good on her. There was an article that came out. It's not by, I think it was by The Atlantic, where the article said that about 49% of Americans nowadays are able to make money through multiple revenue streams, making at least 49% of Americans are making more money doing at least more than one job. And here's the thing: I'm making multiple streams of money right now. It's true. I'm doing multiple jobs. My brother is working on 3 different jobs. My cousin's working on 2 different jobs. One of my friends is working technically 3 jobs also. So we're doing multiple things throughout the entire year because being able to make money, the value of $1 has decreased substantially to the point that and also inflation. There's still this idea of what is considered true minimum wage, $15, $11. I studied in the Silicon Valley area, and in the Silicon Valley area, if you're making, it still blows a lot of people's minds when I tell them this, but in the Palo Alto area, if you're making $250,000, you're considered average and basic. And one of my friends here who lives in Los Angeles, he says that if he was making $70,000 a year, he would be happy in his life. If he made $70,000 a year, he'd be happy in his life. Meanwhile, I got another friend who makes $350,000 per year in his job at Google and was paid a $125,000 signing bonus for his job. And for him, he's like, you know what? I consider myself below average or mediocre. I got another friend who is, by the way, get this. I got a friend who's only 20 years old, just 20. And you know what her salary is? She's making $102,000 per year at the age of 20. Can you believe it? I know, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to believe that. It's like, dang, you're making 6 figures already at a young age. How is that even possible? Well, she was a super smart kid in high school, so whatever. But the reason I'm bringing this up, though, is because the perception and your perspective of how the value of $1 is really varies person to person. And when I compare sporting athletes, sports entertainers, I think about the LeBron James. I think about Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Lionel Messi. I think about all these sports entertainers. Yes, what they're doing is real, but in the end, it's still technically sports entertainment. And I find it funny that Dana White and Vince McMahon, they both have similar perspectives on money, but they're the most, out there people in terms of being really vocal with their opinions and viewpoints and are very aggressive. Yeah, the two people, if you had, 20 billionaires from different sport organizations, and 2 of them were Dana White and Vince McMahon, I can guarantee you, out of the 20 billionaires there, they would be the bottom 2. They'd be the bottom 2 least, most poorest ones out of the 20. Yes, there's 20 billionaires, they're all billionaires, good on them, but among, in this big pond, they're just small fishes. But in their respective organizations of mixed martial arts and in pro wrestling, they're both big fishes in small ponds. And I want to talk about this because I think it is absolutely atrocious and awful that we could have an athlete be fired and be let go for having multiple streams of revenue here. Understand me though, Selena Vega, she made an OnlyFans account, not telling her employer that she has an OnlyFans account. She was even told that her Twitch will be canceled, will be suspended. But here's the thing, though. They're independent contractors. Like, even these fighters here, they label themselves as independent contractors. The reason why there is no unionization for the UFC, for mixed martial arts in general, for organizations, for the WWE, is because these athletes consider themselves to be independent contractors. Their employers call them independent contractors. But to an extent, though, they're not really. It's so bizarre. It really is. That's why I always say this. For as much as people like to make fun of Paige VanZant, I will always say Paige VanZant has to be one of the smartest people in all of MMA. Without a doubt, she has to be one of the most smartest people of all mixed martial arts because she was already doing this already. She was, according to her, she said that she was making more money doing sponsorship deals and posting stuff via Instagram, doing modeling, doing shoutouts through Instagram, dating back to the early 2010s, the early mid-2010s, and now she's able to get out of the UFC, and she's doing other things right now. She's gonna do bare knuckle fighting championships. She also has interest in competing in other sport organizations. She wants to appear more on television shows. She'll be more free to do more things and expand her own brand. Corey Anderson also the same thing where he says, by the way, I'll be doing a review, kind of like a live review of Melvin Manhouf versus Corey Anderson. This will be Corey Anderson's Bellator debut. But I would say that Paige VanZant has to be one of the smartest people in all of MMA. Because while there are many fighters out there, and I know Big John McCarthy said this in a recent talk he had in his podcast, where he said that the Dana White Contender Series and the Ultimate Fighter give out horrendous contracts, and that they are given a six-figure contract, yes, but they have to go through a whole lot of fights to be able to fulfill that six-figure mark, which sucks, because that means it takes years to get to that six-figure mark. And guess what? If you're making $50,000 a year, in the span of 2 years, you'll make six figures. And do people know what the average salary is for the average American in the United States right now? I know the average salary, how it is in California, and that the average salary in Los Angeles is about $66K, while the average salary up in Northern California is roughly around $75K. But there's some parts of it where the average salary, whether it be in the San Francisco Bay Area, is $115K, in the Palo Alto area, $250,000 a year. Like that, the average salary for the California area is really high. But if you look at the average salary for someone like Stockton, so I studied up in Northern California in the Silicon Valley area, but I grew up, I was residing in Stockton, California. And even though Stockton is just like 2 hours away, the average salary in Stockton, where Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz live, by the way, I was like 11 minutes away from their gym, but every time I went to their gym, it was closed, or me and my brother were just super busy. I regret not going to their gym, but whatever. But in Stockton, where Nick and Nate Diaz lived, where there's this idea where it's like, it's super ghetto, it's not really that, advanced and progressive. Note, in that city here, there's like little to no tech industry. It's still heavily forced into it's still an agricultural kind of city. They made about $49,000 a year. Is considered the average. $49,000 a year. You're the average, ordinary Stockton resident, and that's how much money you're kind of making to be average. It's insane. And so now that we know this, Paige VanZant being able to make money through multiple streams of revenue early on in her career. She's not even 30 yet. Wow. It's just amazing for her. And now you have people like Daniel Cormier, Paul Felder, Michelle Watterson, who are news broadcasters, and they should be making also six figures doing their broadcasting job on top of being a fighter. I think I checked up somewhere, and they're like, Michelle Watterson, despite the fact that she is a journeyman fighter, she is banking in six figures, like per fight. And I'm just like, wow, really? Dang, you're not even a top fighter in your own division, yet you're making six figures through one job, and then you're doing a second job where you're making another six figures. And if she was doing Twitch, dang, she'd be making a lot more money here. And now we currently have like a new generation of female fighters coming in who through COVID times is unable to be booked for a fight, is now pulling out their own OnlyFans, now also doing more streaming. Like every time So I used to do delivery. Every time I go to someone's house, almost every house I go to, I always see the person with headphones, and you look right behind them, they got like 3 monitors, they're Twitch streaming, or they're streaming on Mixer, or on YouTube. People making money through multiple revenues is awesome, and I'm happy that that UFC isn't like restricting their fighters, but I'm really upset that the WWE are like limiting their employees on how much money they can make, or where they can potentially make their money. And so coming back right after a short break here, I'll be doing a live review for Melvin Manhouf versus Corey Anderson. Feel free to stay tuned. I am Arnel De Leon. Coming back right after a short break here. See you soon.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And we are back. And so I'll be discussing here Bellator, Melvin Manhouf versus Corey Anderson. This is Corey Anderson's debut in Bellator. I'll be doing a live reaction / short review on this fight here. So right now I am at the beginning. So as for reference point here, they are talking about the referee here, referee Todd Anderson. So he's going to come in, he's going to go discuss the rules with both fighters here. And feel free to follow along. If you've ordered Bellator, if the fight's available in some streaming service out there, I recommend you go follow the show with me. It's going to be very, very fun. But this is Melvin Manhouf versus Corey Anderson, and I expect fireworks coming from this fight here. To be honest with you, I think Corey Anderson can win this fight in the 3rd round via knockout or by decision. I don't think this fight is going to end super early. So right now, I'm at the 4-minute and 55-second mark of this fight here. And I'll say this, I dig fighters like Melvin Manhouf who wear very unique sets of jorts. They have this like short / like Spartan skirt thing going on then. I think I remember something from MMA Point where they made a video about how, whether it be in One Championship, in Pride, whether it be in Bellator, that a lot of fighters have their unique set of like shorts to go wear and attire, compared to a lot of fighters nowadays in the UFC who have like generic black, generic white. Conor McGregor has his own green thing going on, but for the most part, a lot of fighters have a very similar look. But right now, I'm watching these two. Melvin Manhouf has really surprisingly good head movement here. Corey Anderson shoots in for a double leg takedown. Melvin Manhouf, he's got his back onto the cage, and he's trying to... Oh! Corey Anderson going for a single leg here, but Melvin Manhouf isn't really getting much. And then, oh! Big power slam there by Corey Anderson. I'm at the 3-minute and 47-second mark of the fight right now. Corey Anderson just gave a huge power slam onto Melvin Manhouf. He's now working him from half guard position here. And Melvin Manhouf does not... He's a really strong guy, but his abilities to work himself from the ground position, especially from bottom, he's got a really bad track record here. So as strong as Melvin Manhouf is, I don't see him coming out of this. I can see Corey Anderson slowly working on Melvin Manhouf for the better parts of 3.5 minutes here. Pretty much the entire first round here. So, the left arm of Melvin Manhouf right now is trying to fight off the strikes coming in from the right arm of Corey Anderson, but Corey Anderson is just swinging at him at this point here. Manhouf, I think, is attempting a Kimura, but then Corey Anderson just immediately gets out of it, starts doing some ground and pound. Melvin Manhouf, though, he's one of those fighters that a lot of fighters have a tendency of doing, in that once you're in the ground, you're more trying to defend yourself, more so than... You're more trying to defend yourself and prevent yourself from getting even more hurt or even more damage, more so than trying to get out. And I think that's very awful. I think that's a bad idea. We see a lot of fighters have a tendency of doing that, and that they get taken down, they're not trying to get up. I understand that it's very gassing, it's very tiring, and the fighter who is on top is the one applying all the weight and applying the pressure onto their opponents. But if you're the type of fighter who cannot get up from the ground here, and you have to mostly rely on the referee breaking you two up, I think you really have to work on your grappling and wrestling ability here. Because right now, Melvin Manhouf is not doing well for himself. Oh, Melvin Manhouf, he's able to roll over Corey Anderson, but Corey Anderson right now has kind of got a head and arm choke right now at top. So, good job there by Manhouf. He was able to get out Corey Anderson here. I was definitely wrong there. So, but the problem though is that Manhouf, he has got a lot of ground to make up for after getting control in the first round here. Corey Anderson shoots in for another takedown, and he gets another takedown. Good thing though is that Melvin Manhouf does have butterfly position here, but Corey Anderson, being the much more bigger fighter, just stalks up on top of Melvin Manhouf, raining down some vicious right arm shots, some vicious ground and pound here. And the worst part, Melvin Manhouf, he's got his back onto the cage of the fight here, so his mobility has been limited. When you're on the cage, you're meant to go and bring your legs up and be able to slowly bring yourself up. But that's if you got really strong legs, though. Melvin Manhouf is a really top-heavy guy, so I don't expect him to get out of this all that well. So Melvin Manhouf, he's just trying to grab that right arm of Corey Anderson. Anderson is just not giving him anything right now. Anderson is just continually hitting him with right arm ground and pound strikes. We're in the 35-second mark of the first round here. Anderson trying to shove his shoulder up to the jaw of Melvin Manhouf. Manhouf not really doing much here. And on the commentary team be like, I know it looks bad for Melvin Manhouf here, but he's got like 29 knockouts in his career. Manhouf is like strong, he can knock anyone out with one punch, yes, but it's not going well for him. Oh, vicious knee there by Corey Anderson. Another knee. 3-strike combination. Manhouf right now is just trying to survive this. Manhouf isn't trying anything here. Corey Anderson just walks backwards. And that is the end of the first round. Dominant performance there by Corey Anderson. This should be an easy victory for Corey Anderson. And that's not me disrespecting Melvin Manhouf. It's more of a sense that style-wise and track record-wise, Corey Anderson is currently, I believe right now, at the peak of his career. We are seeing the best version of Corey Anderson than we've ever seen before. And here, Corey Anderson was a top 5 fighter in... Was it lightweight division? No, it wasn't lightweights. But he was a top 5 ranked fighter in the UFC at one point. And then he won his last fights. But, you know, according to him, he says that he wants to expand his brand on, and he wants to go and be able to do more. And not just him, he's leaving. No, he signed to Bellator just weeks right after Paige VanZant was bragging about it online, that she's making more money participating, and she got a better contract participating for BKFC and doing other stuff after leaving the FC. And so the second round bell rings. I'm at the 4-minute and 54-second mark of this fight here. Melvin Manhouf doing a lot less head movement here. He's being a lot more stationary. Corey Anderson is the one who's trying to pressure Melvin Manhouf here at this point. So Corey Anderson, he respects Melvin Manhouf, dude. And I respect Manhouf too. Manhouf, though, as a dynamic MMA fighter, isn't as advanced as Corey Anderson here. Fight set just popped up in the bottom left here, where it said that apparently Melvin Manhouf attempted 3 strikes and landed only 1 strike in the entire first round. Only 1. Compare that to Corey Anderson, who landed 68 No, he attempted 68 shots, but landed 33. So Corey Anderson, dominant victory there. It should be 10-8 first round. I don't get how it could not be 10-8 there, considering Manhouf didn't do anything at all in the first. Anderson gets another takedown in, starts running in some right ground and pound action here. We are at half guard. So Anderson went from full guard to half guard on the left side of Manhouf. Manhouf is struggling here. So yeah, they're right now at the center of the cage here. And Anderson can slowly work his way up into full guard here if possible. Then rain down shots, do some ground and pound action onto Melvin Manhouf. Or not really here. You know what? One thing I really want fighters to do a lot more often, I think they should attempt less submission holds whenever they get to half guard position. That's what I believe. I think I see too many fighters who spend so much time, so much round time, focusing in and trying to go with submissions instead of pulling off elbows, because the distance between your elbows and the person's face is a lot more shorter, and you're exerting a lot less efforts going for, the elbow shots from top position as opposed to go for submission holds. And as I'm saying that, Corey Anderson is laying down some right elbow shots onto... Dang! 3 straight vicious right elbows, a left hook, go back to a right elbow yet again from Corey Anderson. Anderson he was going for the Kimura lock for the better part of 35 seconds on half guard position, and that is the end of the fight then. Corey Anderson TKOs Melvin Manhouf. Dominant performance there, man. Wow. Corey Anderson completely demolished his opponent there. Dang. Wow, I am mightily impressed right there. Wow. Corey Anderson completely destroyed his opponent, Melvin Manhouf there. And here's the thing with Corey Anderson. He really is one of the complete... how I view him, he is the complete MMA fighter. He really is. He is fully capable of beating anybody in a stand-up game. He is fully capable of wrestling anybody and going toe-to-toe with the very best. I think he wrestled Kevin Lee. I forgot their matchup. Was it Corey Anderson versus Kevin Lee? I'll speak about Kevin Lee later here, but yeah. So Corey Anderson here. Let me check up when he fought. All right. So Corey Anderson, he actually lost his last fight. He lost his last fight to Jan Blackwix, the current reigning light heavyweight champion. Yeah. So he had a performance against Johnny Walker, Ilir Latifi, great one. Glover Teixeira, who is currently the number one contender for Jan Blackwix. He would have been Patrick Cummings here, Sharon Cal, Mauricio Chogunhua. And then Corey Anderson did defeat Jan Blackwix at one point also back at UFC 191. Defeated Filthy Tom Lawler. Yeah, Corey Anderson, man, he's currently 14-5 right now after that victory over Melvin Manhouf. I am very surprised by the performance, very surprised in how dominating it was. I said that the fight was going to end in the third round by KO. I didn't expect Corey Anderson to be that vicious, to be that ultra aggressive. Dang. So Jan Blackwix, Jan Blackwix defeated Corey Anderson back in February of this year. And so what is next for Corey Anderson then? Well, I think we can expect him going for the light heavy title right now. Maybe we can expect him to go for, because after that performance here. Okay, I'm gonna check here. What's currently the rankings right now for the Bellator light heavyweight for the Bellator light heavyweight scene right now? So light heavyweight rankings here. Is it still Ryan Bader? So yeah, it's still Ryan Bader, who's currently ranked number 1 right now in the Bellator light heavyweight scene here. So, yeah, we also have Phil Mr. Wonderful Davis, Vladimir Nemkov, Aliya Magiri, Muhammad King Mo, really? Okay, the rankings here are so often strange. It is so strange here. But, okay, so it's Vladimir Nemkov. You know what? I can really see it, actually. I can really see So Ryan Bader is not the champion. Vadim Nemkov is currently light heavyweight champion. Melvin Manhouf was ranked number 6. Yeah, Corey Anderson should definitely fight against Ryan Bader, Phil Davis, Liam McGarry, or Vadim Nemkov. I think it's a huge money fight to have Corey Anderson versus Ryan Bader. That to me is a big money fight. Phil Davis against Corey Anderson. Talk about two fighters who fight very, very similar in that they're very strong grapplers, but their striking and power punch ability is really great. I would say that Corey Anderson is a better technical boxer than Phil Davis, but Phil Davis has some really underrated power that people seriously need to pay attention on. But wow. Strong performance there by Corey Anderson in his TKO victory against Melvin Manhouf up at UFC 252. And so coming up after a short break here, I'll be doing another live reaction review here, and this review will be for Bellator 252. We had Pitbull against Carvalho coming in. It's for the world. There'll be right now. There's a Grand Prix tournament right now for Bellator at featherweights. I'm excited to see how that fight goes off. You know what sucks though? It sucks knowing that, considering that John Jones vacated the light heavyweight belt, Jan Blackwix is the current light heavyweight champion. We could potentially see Corey Anderson versus Jan Blackwix for the light heavyweight title. It'd be Blackwix against Anderson 3. But you know what? Anderson, he left for financial reasons. He believes he can make more money participating in Bellator than in the UFC. And whatever he wants to do, and I respect it. So you're listening to the GSMC MMA podcast. This is Arnel De Leon coming back right after a short break here. See you soon.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA, to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And we are back. This will be another live review here of Patricio Pitbull against Pedro Carvalho. This is for the Bellator Featherweight World Title here. Patricio Pitbull, he is 30-4, while Pedro is 11-3. There is an 8-year age difference, but there's also a 5-inch reach advantage for Pedro compared to Patricio Pitbull. And also that Pedro has also a 5-inch reach advantage also. Dang here. So there's a lot of things right now here for Pedro's way, but I'm putting my money right now on Patricio Pitbull. So what the hell this fight should be going? I'm going to predict right now, Pitbull just dives in there like a proper Pitbull, right? Like a Pitbull dives in there, does not care about slowly turning this to a poking fight. I think that's the last thing Pitbull wants, though. He wants the last thing to be a poking fight. He has to go in there, dive in there, have no fear, go close range, go through 50-50 exchanges here. Because usually long fighters have the tendency of struggling in those 50-50 exchanges. It's the reason why whenever you go to the heavyweight division, a lot of the fighters who've got shorter arms or a lot more stockier have a tendency of being the ones who win the fights against the fighters with the longer arms. Now, unless you're like Israel Adesanya or John Jones, where your ability to counterpunch and you have such great pinpoint accuracy that despite your long reach, you can go and handle the 50-50 exchanges. That happens at times, though. But yeah, Pitbull coming off the victory on Michael Chandler Michael Chandler is en route, surprisingly enough though, en route to potentially being a champion soon for the UFC if everything goes the way that he expects it to be. We got Mike Beltran being the referee for this fight here. And the fight's about to start soon here. Here it goes. Feel free to follow along with me if you can, if you want to watch a fight here, but I recommend you guys watch anything, whether it be Bellator, One Championship, UFC, Invicta. It's difficult to keep up with all these fighters, but trust me, it is all worth it. It's really cool seeing new fighters who are fresh to your faces. So the bell just sang on right now, then you can follow me right now. I'm at the 4 minute and 55 second mark of this fight. So, strangely enough, though, it is... Yeah, so Carvello is the one who is pressuring Pitbull here, using his long reach, poking with long jabs. Meanwhile, Pitbull is circling around Carvello. This fight slowly turned into a poking fight here, which is something that I think Pitbull would not want to see. Oh, look at that! So, there was a leg kick immediately by Carvello. A counter left straight from Pitbull. And Pitbull is doing what he should be doing, and that he's closing in the distance against a much more larger fighter here. He's right now clinching up with Carvello onto the cage. The thing is, though, when these two disconnect from the clinching, there will be a brief window to which Carvello should be open and available for Pitbull to land in a very clean strike. Yeah, I think right now Pitbull is going to go separate himself from Carvello. Oh, but he didn't pursue. So Carvello here with a whole lot of head movement, trying to pressure down on Pitbull here, going with long left jabs. And oh, there it is. So Carvello gets caught by Pitbull, and we got a choke coming in by Pitbull. Pitbull is able to lose it. But now he's currently at the back of Carvello. They start rolling around, going in for a rear naked choke. Carvello is battling himself out of here. And amazing job there. Woo! Carvello does something that every fighter should do when they're in the bottom. Instead of just like holding in, the exact opposite of Melvin Manhouf. When Melvin Manhouf got taken down, man, he was pretty much stuck in the ground, not really doing much. So yeah, Carvello here, really great job of surviving himself, but he is the one getting rocked more often in these 50 exchanges here. Up, a left hook there by Pitbull, and Pitbull wins the fight via KO. Patricio Pitbull defends his featherweight title. He is a small featherweight dude, but he packs a punch. He really does. Okay, so good job there by Carvello here, but dang. Okay, so Pitbull kind of reminds me very similarly, ironically enough, to Jessica Andrade. If any of you saw the fight between Jessica Andrade and Jessica, Katlyn Chookagian, Jessica Andrade is a small statured fighter. I think she had there's a 6-7 inch difference between Katlyn Chookagian and Jessica Andrade, and even then, Jessica Andrade, despite her small stature, is a walking tank. She is a powerhouse. And it's very easy to compare both of these fights here because we had the long, reachy, lengthy fighter here who's got a good wrestling background, who is capable of handling stuff from the ground, and usually wins fights through either low leg kicks or long jabs. That's what Carvello did. That's what Katlyn Chookagian did. And they both end up getting knocked out here because, here's what I believe. I think there are so many fighters who are so focused in on the jabbing, poking aspect of MMA, who are perfectly fine handling long, grind-out fights here, that the second they get overwhelmed easily, there's this weird mental shutdown, and they get caught easily. Because both of them ended up being knocked out early on in the fights. Both Chookagian and Carvello here. I guess another good comparison would be so I play a lot of fighting games. I play a lot of Street Fighter and Tekken here, and I'm always super frustrated playing Tekken when I'm really frustrated playing the Tekken here when my opponent just bum rushes me. I hate it. It always bothers me. I'm like, come on, let's make this to a slow, calculating, grind out fight. And I was that type of player who was focused in on the grind out playing style. And the grind out playing style, it works for some fighters, But there are some moments where you got to go find different win conditions. I talked about this earlier on, in that every fighter should have multiple win conditions going into their fights. I hate fighters with just one-track minds here. In the Paulo Costa versus Izzo Adesanya, Paulo Costa is a great headhunter. The guy pressures all his opponents with a high volume of strikes. And then when he fought against Izzo Adesanya, he turned to this dude who was poking his opponent with leg kicks and slow jabs and grind them out and trying to develop better cardio. And I'm like, that's not Paulo Costa's style. I hate that type of style now. Me playing right now online competitively in Tekken, I'm just like, you know what? I give up. Enough with this slow grind up methodical style. I'm just gonna go in there. I'm just gonna bank in that my reaction timing is good enough to handle myself if I were to put myself in a bad situation. And if it happens, it happens. But I'm gonna go in all confident. I'm gonna try to knock out my opponent, and that's what I do in Tekken, and in Street Fighter, and in Smash Bros. And here's the thing: there are a lot of fighters who have a tendency of doing that grind out style, who fight worse fighting methodically. I think Joe Rogan, Bisping, John Anik, Dominic Cruz, of course Dominic Cruz would say this, but they all said that fighters who fight that slow, grind-up, methodical style, they're fighting like how a champion should fight. And note, there's a difference between how a champion fights and how a challenger fights. And a challenger who tries to fight like a champion isn't a good challenger. It happens all the time. I always bring up Watterson, Esparza, and Claudio Cadella, because we have three former champions here. Carlos Esparza being a former UFC champion, Claudio Cadella, a former champion of another organization, and Michelle Watterson being the world atomweight champion for Invicta. So we have three champions here. And for the longest time, and even kind of till now, they fight this grind out, slow pace, championship style pace that doesn't impress anyone. That doesn't impress the high ups in the UFC. It doesn't impress fans. This style doesn't impress people. It's not impressive enough for them to win through this style to give them any leeway to go rank themselves, to move themselves up in the women's stride division. I just don't like it then. And so for Cadella here, I thought that he really should have focused in a lot more in his boxing ability and his ability to go for counter punches. His one win condition obviously was to poke Pitbull, and hopefully that poking over time is going to do some number on him, and he'll be able to win out the fights. That's what Cardova was focusing on here. It didn't work out well for Pitbull. Pitbull recognized, you know what, this guy, he obviously will be uncomfortable if I just pressure him. So I'm going to pressure the heck out of him. If he gets to a bad position, I can go submit him. If I can't submit him, I can knock him out. If I can't knock him out, I'm going to do some ground pound. That's what I'm happy about with fighters like Corey Anderson and Patricio Pitbull here. In that they got multiple win conditions going into the fight with not just one set game plan. That fighters who can win fights through multiple scenarios and can adapt and handle themselves through those multiple scenarios, I think truly are the best fighters in all of mixed martial arts. If you're a fighter with a one-track mind, then yeah. Now, you might say like a fighter like Khabib Nurmagomedov, he's got one-track mind that he's kind of grappling, but here's the thing though, he doesn't just go in and shoot him for a grapple. No, he goes in and he actually boxes with you. He boxes with you, he strikes with you. In his fight against Justin Gaethje, his goal was to make Gaethje as uncomfortable as possible through his boxing, through his leg kicks, through applying so much pressure that from then on he can go and clinch with his opponent and take them down. It wasn't like Khabib, go in there, take down. It was more like Khabib, go in there, slowly work him, work his legs, work his knee, kick him in the calf here, mix up, go through different level of changes, work on the body, then move to head, then go to leg kick here. Make it as uncomfortable as possible for Justin Gaethje so he will not see the takedown coming. And then Gaethje will forcibly change his fighting stance in order to fight you properly, which leads to Khabib getting in finding a right moment, a right time for him to go shoot him for the takedown and win the fight. Then he can win you via ground and pound. He can beat you via submitting. He can beat you through overwhelming you even with the stand-up game. So fighters or prospect fighters out there, you should go to every fight with multiple win conditions. If you go in there with just a one-track mind, you're not going to be all that bueno. You ain't. But congratulations there by Patricio Pitbull. Great showing there. And it makes me excited to see a lot more fights by Pitbull. Any fighter who does end up fighting Pitbull in the near future, be prepared to fight a very fast, very quick fighter who will probably rush you, and you should be able to handle yourself winning the 50-50 exchanges if you expect to beat Pitbull anytime soon for the title. And so with that out of the way, let's get on to the news brief session of the podcast here. What's going on out there in the world of mixed martial arts? Well, first off, Chaos Williams, yes, that Chaos Williams, spelled with a K, Khaos, is confident that he can knock out any fighter. Now, his last performance here against Abdul Razak Al Hassan was stellar, one of the best knockouts of the entire year. Chaos Williams, a young guy, he's got a very bright future ahead of him, and he's a fighter that you should look out for. Hopefully he doesn't end up like Uriah Hall, where he's a fighter with unlimited potential, but doesn't really do anything with it. I expect big things out of Chaos Williams, especially for the tail end of next year. But in the post-fight presser, he explained where he got his confidence from and his fish ability coming from. He says, "I feel like I can knock anybody out. It's a fight. If you hit anybody hard enough, they might be able to knock me out. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I feel like we all are human beings, and like I said before, metaphorically speaking, nobody bulletproof. You hit me a hard way, I hit you a hard way, you're gonna go down." He said, now, given the quick rise of fellow welterweight Khamzat Chimaev, Williams was asked if he should be viewed as a comparable light as far as the hype goes. Williams says that they cannot, it's up to them. All I know is what I believe in, and I just know it's not really about them. It's about what I believe and my mindset, but at the end of the day, they know what's going on. After this win, Williams had a brief chat with UFC President Dana White. He says White called the finish one of the greatest knockouts he's seen. It's probably only a matter of time until Williams is patched up in the latest UFC video game. Williams says it was pretty impressive, especially who I knocked out. He's a knockout artist himself. He's got 10 first-round KOs. For me to knock him out, that's pretty darn impressive. Chaos Williams, he says that he doesn't play video games, but he is kind of bummed out that he himself is not in the new UFC video game. So maybe UFC 5, we'll see Chaos Williams, and he'll have like a really cool moveset, one punch man knockout here. But Chaos Williams was being compared to Khamzat Chimaev. Way too soon, way too early. Yes, that was a very, very incredible performance there by Chaos Williams. But right now, I gotta see Williams pull out 2 more victories, and then pull out 2 more victories against lower name guys, and then after that, then start competing with people like ranked number 8 through 15. If you can go and compete with the very best from 8 through 15, then I see the sky's the limit there for Chaos Williams. All he needs is 2 more fights to cement himself as a proper fighter who can compete with the top 10, and then from then on, who knows what can happen for Chaos Williams. He can be the next big thing. You're listening to the GSMC MMA podcast. Come back after a short break here with the news brief.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
And we are back, and so we are on to the news brief here of today's podcast. It is coming in by MMAJunkie.usatoday.com. In that, did you know that Fabricio Verdum is the Tom Brady of MMA? I did not know that. But according to MMA Junkie, the headline being PFL is ecstatic about signing the Tom Brady of MMA to its roster. This is being written in by Simon Simano. The PFL made a splashy move on Monday by announcing it has signed former UFC heavyweight champion Fabricio Verdum, who will compete in the upcoming 2021 season. It's clear the PFL is ecstatic about this, pushing all in on that all-important promotion part of being a fight promotion. On Twitter, the PFL announced the move with a vibrant graphic dubbing Verdum MMA Heavyweight Goats. So, you see this, I can't even comprehend this. So, you've got the PFL logo, the crown on top of it, Professional Fighters League. Then you got the words Fabricio Verdum, MMA heavyweight GOATs, and you see this very poor Photoshop image of Fabricio Verdum. They painted him orange, or they gave him the color orange tints on him, but it's obvious that like his color orange doesn't match the orange background. Meanwhile, there's like, I think they're on Mars, maybe. Like they're on top of this blue planet here. There's also like lights coming down from the ceiling, and I think there's an earthquake going on. It's hard to explain what it is, but the PFL MMA image of him is just so bizarre. And then it goes on to say, it is coming in from a press release statement, PFL CEO Peter Murray took it to the next level by comparing Verdum as someone widely believed to be the GOAT of the NFL. PFL CEO Peter Murray says, I'm excited to announce Fabricio Verdum, the Tom Brady of MMA, has signed with the Professional Fighters League. Fabricio is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, and knows when he steps into the PFL cage this coming season, it is more than a fight. The PFL sports season format provides an important opportunity to control his destiny. I like what the writer for the article said. He says, not gonna lie, my gut reaction was, hey, pump the brakes. Has Verdum accomplished the MMA equivalent of winning 6 Super Bowl championships? No, he's not. Now, here's the thing. The link between Verdum and Tom Brady stems from the fact that they are both 43 years old. Okay? That's about it. Now, is Verdum one of the greatest heavyweights of all time? Yes. 100%. He is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Actually, at one point, several years ago, you could have said that Fabricio Verdum was the GOAT of the heavyweight division. You could have argued that. It was either him, Ken Velasquez, or Fedor Emelianenko, and this is coming off the heels of Fedor Emelianenko being knocked out by Verdum, and then Verdum becoming heavyweight champion. So yeah, Fabricio Verdum was at one point widely considered to be the greatest heavyweight of all time. But with Tom Brady, though, you can make an easy argument for Tom Brady. 6 Super Bowl championships, trophies. Him going to the Super Bowl, like, I think 8-10 times. And then, like, Tom Brady is, like, one of the most winningest QBs in the history of football. Verdum, like, that's no disrespect to Fabricio Verdum, dude. He's one of the best ever. But to call him the Tom Brady of MMA is just bizarre. Honestly, I don't even know who would be considered Tom Brady here, because as I am saying this, as there's a headline out there about Tom Brady, MMA, Fabricio Verdum, the thing between John Jones and Daniel Cormier, it still continues to be a thing. I don't know why, whatever, but Daniel Cormier goes on to say that John Jones can't be the GOAT because he failed drug tests. And because he failed those drug tests, he is eliminated from the conversation of being the GOAT. And this is coming off the heels of people saying, including Cormier, that Khabib Nurmagomedov is the GOAT. The GOAT debate... Look, it's easier to do GOAT debates in like sporting leagues like NFL, NHL, NBA. It's really easy. Now, you can make arguments and cases, but in the end, it's still pretty easy. Like, Michael Jordan is the GOAT until LeBron James does X and Y. Alright then. The problem with mixed martial arts, big problem, is the fact that a lot of these champions are, like, abandoning their gosh darn belts. And I hate it. I do it. Henry Cejudo, double belt champion, he defended his belt once. Just once. No, twice. He defended his belt twice. Like his flyweight belt twice, then defended his strawweight belt once. So he had 3 title defenses. Okay, you compare that to Khabib's title defenses. You compare it with John Jones, and you got John Jones leaving the light heavyweight belt, the light heavyweight division. You got Israel Adesanya who wants to leave his division. It's so frustrating. It really is. Like, how do you measure who the GOAT is? By who's defended their belt the most? Who's had the most dominant run as champion? Because then you say Anderson Silva had the most dominant run ever as champion. Longest days ever as champion. Amanda Nunes, she's been double belt champion for over a year now. Is she the GOAT? People even say Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor are GOATs in themselves because they draw in the biggest money. How do you measure who the GOAT is it is such a subjective thing, and because fighters are constantly retiring, constantly leaving their respective divisions, it's hard to tell who truly is the GOAT. And it's super bothersome. Actually, one reason as to why Floyd Mayweather will never be seen as the GOAT of boxing ever, and here's my subjective opinion, is because of his weight division. That's a sad truth. Nobody say, like, oh man, who is the greater fighter? Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, or Manny Pacquiao, or Floyd Mayweather? And it's easy to argue and debate with Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. It's easy to debate with Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, sort of. But it's hard to debate, oh man, who is greater? Floyd Mayweather or Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson? And you can't make the argument. It's hard to make the argument for that. And because it's difficult to make arguments for fighters from different divisions, it's hard to make a proper comparison analysis between two fighters. Now, obviously, if these sort of fight, the bigger fighter would usually win. That's how it is. And so it's hard to say, oh, Floyd, you're the GOAT, but you would lose to peak Tyson and peak Ali. How does that work? Blah, blah, blah. It just, it's so bothersome because it's even bothersome to say that you have to be a heavyweight to be the best ever, because at one point people were saying Fedor Emelianenko was the best ever, and one reason to that was because he was the heavyweight champion at one point of the world. So, who really is the GOAT? Who really is the best? It's confusing. It's annoying. It's just the world of MMA. It just makes martial arts being a complete cluster of like drama, storytelling. I wish I can go 1 week without Cormier or John Jones giving shots at one another. That's all I want. So we have Okay, so do any of you remember that Conor McGregor RDA fight that was supposed to happen years ago? Well, it might be revisited. It's coming in by MMAfighting.com. El Chap, Conor McGregor, answers Rafael Dos Anjos laughs at Dana White's. So RDA and Conor McGregor had a square off back at UFC 197. RDA argues he and Conor McGregor should fight because they're the only undisputed champions in the running for the UFC lightweight title. McGregor agrees. No, I don't agree. The former two-division champion took to Twitter to answer Dos Anjos' call-out after a gusty win against Paul Felder. Conor McGregor goes on to say, Dustin first, but I'm down for it. Throw it back to this classic. Lol. Look at Dana. Ha 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 ha. Vintage MMA entertainment. El Chap. We got sweater Dana White here, being all sweaty with his khakis. Oh yeah, Dana White nearly needs to like change his wardrobe. Really does. So McGregor, he is booked for a rematch against former interim champion Dustin Poirier on January 23. UFC President Dana White has said the bout could take place. Could take place on Fight Island if all goes as planned. Poirier takes priority on McGregor after the two agreed on. Oh my gosh, it's just. It's so annoying. It really is. I wish it was more official on what's happening in the UFC. I like there to be a schedule in advance. I don't like all this tiptoeing of this fight may or may not happen. Maybe. Strange. How strange. But dang. So right now, one fighter here is trending after the... So one fighter here is trending apparently from Twitter. That's coming in by BJPen.com. Fire Gina Carano was trending on Twitter after the Mandalorian star, because she was in the Mandalorian TV series for Disney, shared some controversial posts. This is coming in from Christopher Taylor. And that women's MMA pioneer Gina Carano is in hot water following some controversial tweets regarding the U.S. election and COVID-19. Oh no, Carano, who 7-1 in MMA, who was stardom while competing under Elite XC banner, was trending on Twitter this weekend, but not for a good reason. Gina Carano on his Twitter went on to say, "Yikes!" Alright, I'm just gonna say it right now. This isn't an indictment of me or Golden State Media Concepts of our opinions or our viewpoints here. We try to be as unpolitical as we possibly can right now because we don't want to take sides. Whatever opinions we have is our own. That's whatever. But Gina Carano here, I'm reporting what she said here, that she says, we need to clean up the election process so we are not left feeling the way we do today. Put laws in place that protect us against voter fraud, investigate every state, film the counting, flush out the fake votes, require ID, make voter fraud end in 2020, fix the system, American flag. And then Gina Carano then posts another thing saying, breaking news, Democratic government leaders now recommends we all wear blindfolds along with masks so we can see what's really going on here. Needless to say, not everyone on Twitter agrees with Carano's takes. In fact, so many people were outraged, the hashtag #FireGinaCarano wound up trending on Twitter. There are a lot of comments here that I am not going to read because I don't want to spread some hate here. Whatever your viewpoints are on the election, that is on you. Alright then? But, okay, I'll tell you right now here. Now, if you are a person who has some clout, who has some following, and you don't want to have any trouble, just avoid saying something political that you know will piss people off. Now, I understand, it's your viewpoint, it's your opinion, but if you're going to have a voice, and you're going to put it out there, be ready to expect, backlash. It's a normal thing that happens. Colby Covington, he devours this, man. He likes this stuff. I'm pretty sure Gina Carano isn't like Colby Covington, who is a troll. But Gina Carano is like, you know what, man, I'm going to put my viewpoint out there. And then Colby Covington's like, I'm going to put my viewpoint out there so I can get, people talking about me. Yeah. Gina, now, here's the thing. I don't expect anything coming out of this. I don't. I've been avoiding Twitter for the most part because stuff like this has a tendency of happening, especially during election time. We've had, like if you go on Twitter, there's so much toxicity that I don't want to deal with it, ever. I'm not saying you can't have an opinion. I'm just saying, be ready to deal with, conflicting opinions or people backlashing your viewpoints. Be ready for it because in the year of 2020, anything can happen. And just stay safe out there. Just stay safe. Be good. Be courteous to one another. If someone has another viewpoint, don't be hostile to them. And if you're hostile, just relax. Chill down. Just chill. And so coming up next week, I'll be reviewing Inside the Matrix for One Championship, along with UFC 255 main event Deiveson Figueiredo against Alex Perez, defending his flyweight title. We got Valentina Shevchenko versus Jennifer Maia. Platinum Mike Perry, I can't believe Mike Perry is still booked for a show, but Platinum Mike Perry fighting against Tim Means, Caitlin Chukagian against Cynthia Calvillo, and Mauricio Shogunua versus Paul Craig. This card is stacked with really darn good fights here. And and here's the thing. Don't forget the prelims. Prelims is also stacked. We have Anthony Shevchenko against Aaron Olipsky, Joaquin Buckley, known for his reverse enziguri knockout versus Jordan Wright, and Brandon Moreno against Brandon Royval. Brandon Royval and Brandon Moreno, are not enough two Brandons here, might pull off the best fight of the entire night here. I really do believe that. So UFC 255 is going to be stacked. Next week I'll be discussing One Championship Inside the Matrix. So this brings us to a close for today's podcast. You have been a great audience. Get ready for another week full of amazing MMA action. Now, whether it be from the UFC, Bellator MMA, One Championship, Invicta FC, wherever it is, there's a lot of fun, great MMA action going out there, great prospects, and there's always something to learn. There's a lot of fights that happen every single week, and I'll be here to cover it. My name's Arnel De Leon, and all I gotta say is thank you. Thank you for tuning into the GSMC MMA podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'd like to ask you, please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you could please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, and have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts MMA Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.